Westminster Abbey must be the favourite, but William is determined to do things his way, and he's already shown that he's capable of springing a few surprises. This evening, William is expected to return to duty at his RAF base on Anglesey. We should know where the wedding will be, and possibly when, by the end of the week. We may also learn that much of the cost will be borne privately by the royal family. Nicholas Witchell, BBC News, at Buckingham Palace.
The Crown Prosecution Service has dropped its investigation into an MI5 officer accused of complicity in the torture of Binyam Mohammed after his arrest in Pakistan. Yesterday, the government announced it will pay compensation to Mr Mohammed and 15 other British nationals or residents who were held at Guantanamo Bay over claims they were mistreated during questioning. An independent report into the murder of a policeman by a paranoid schizophrenic has found that his death might have been prevented if his attacker had been properly treated by mental health services. PC John Henry was stabbed in Luton Town Centre in 2007. His killer, Tennyson Obi, was caught on CCTV in the moments after the attack. The report says that although the murder could not have been predicted, carers failed to intervene when he stopped taking psychiatric drugs. The number of people unemployed across the UK fell slightly in the 3 months to September to 2.45 million. The number of people claiming job seekers allowance also went down last month by just under 4,000. Police in Berkshire have launched a murder inquiry after they pulled a van over in Sunningdale and found a body inside. Witnesses say the van was stopped on the A30 and a body was removed. A number of arrests have been made. Well, Sophie Hutchinson is there for us now. This is an ongoing situation. Sophie, what more can you tell us?
Well, yes, it's very busy here behind me. There's quite a lot of police activity going on. They're just moving a police van. They have covered up the area where we believe the body still is with a tarpaulin tent. There have been quite dramatic scenes here, really, for Sunningdale, usually a very quiet place. But what happened just before 2 o'clock today, as we understand it, the white van, which you may now be able to see just off in the distance, was pulled up by police. And there are reports that police then arrested 3 men from the front of the van. There's an unconfirmed eyewitness report that a 4th man then ran off and that the police managed then to capture him. Eyewitnesses, again unconfirmed, said that the men were armed. The police have confirmed that 4 men, though, have been arrested, and they were arrested on suspicion of murder because a body has been pulled from the van and it was found by the police.
Sophie Hutchinson with the latest there in Berkshire. Thank you very much. The Chancellor, George Osborne, says Britain has offered to help Ireland deal with its debt crisis. His offer came as EU ministers met in Brussels to discuss assistance measures. Dublin has made no formal request for a bailout and insists it can deal with its deficit on its own. Our Ireland correspondent Mark Simpson reports.
The crash in Ireland's economy is summed up by 30,000 empty homes, gathering dust in ghost estates after the Irish property bubble burst and the money ran out. The Celtic Tiger boom made Ireland the golden boy of Europe. It's now the problem child. European finance ministers are worried. Ireland's debt crisis is making borrowing more expensive for some other parts of the Eurozone. The UK is outside that zone, but it still wants to help.
Ireland is our closest neighbour, and it's in Britain's national interest that the Irish economy is successful and we have a stable banking system. So Britain stands ready to support Ireland in the steps that it needs to take to bring about that stability.
Ireland is the UK's 5th largest export market. The UK could help by giving the country a direct loan or contributing to a European-wide rescue fund. Although the Irish government says it doesn't want a bailout, some believe that's just a tactic.
The Irish are probably trying to get as much as they can out of this negotiating process so as that ultimately when the decision is announced that it may be on slightly favourable terms for Ireland. So there's very much a game going on here.
Any deal that's negotiated will be too late for this young nursing graduate. Anne-Marie King is leaving Ireland this weekend, one of thousands of people now emigrating.
It's heartbreaking having to leave my family and friends behind, my boyfriend behind, I just have to go to the UK to find a permanent job in nursing, as it is my career and there is no job opportunities in Ireland for me. And I don't really want to leave these people behind, but it's not a choice that I have at the minute.
The focus of the debt crisis is now switching from Brussels to Dublin. Tomorrow, officials are coming here from the European Central Bank, the European Commission and the International Monetary Fund. For Ireland, it's now decision time. Bailout or no bailout? The rest of Europe is waiting for an answer. Mark Simpson, BBC News, Dublin.
The time is almost 6:15. Our top story tonight. Heavy rain and gale-force winds have caused serious flooding in parts of Cornwall, with more than 100 homes evacuated and major disruption to road and rail links. And coming up, hope for the millions of people who suffer from high blood pressure as scientists discover a new technique which could help keep it under control.
And coming up on the BBC News channel, we'll have the latest on Ireland's debt crisis as Euro finance ministers continue talks and unemployment falls here in the UK.
All this week, George Alagiah has been reporting from Afghanistan on the challenges facing the mission there ahead of a crucial NATO summit this Friday. The summit is expected to agree a timetable for handing over security duties to local forces, with 2014 as the likely new target date. So what will a handover mean for the Afghan people? George is at Camp Bastion now. George.
Sophie, thank you, and good evening. Here in Afghanistan, NATO is involved in two battles. One is against the insurgency and the other is the attempt to win hearts and minds. 30 years of conflict have left women carrying much of the burden. Under the Taliban, they were left largely unseen and unheard. But now, for a minority at least, that's changing. As I've been finding out, one of the most spectacular examples is on the sports field.
You're watching something special, really special. It's not about the skills that are on display, but about the players who've taken to the field. 19-year-old Sajid Saha and her teammates are all members of the Afghan national women's football team.
What do you think of when you come through these gates?
I took Sajid to the national stadium, her field of dreams. Like millions around the world, she was inspired by one of the game's superstars.
I can easily say that I learned football from Ronaldinho.
From Ronaldinho?
Yes.
From watching him?
Yes, from watching him.
10 years ago, under the Taliban, playing football in public was out of the question for women. What if they were to return?
I don't know what we will do.
Do you worry about it?
Yes, everyone in our team, we are worrying about that if the Taliban come back to Afghanistan, so we cannot play football again.
Afghans remember this stadium for an altogether more chilling form of public spectacle. It was the place where the Taliban imposed their extreme interpretation of Sharia law.
So Sajid hopes that one day she will represent her country here in this stadium. And that dream is a far cry from the days when this was a place of execution. And it symbolises the changes that are underway here in Afghanistan.
But for many more, life has not changed at all. For Fatima, whether or not women play football is a luxury. She's one of the 1.5 million war widows in this country. Fatima told me she'd been selling on the streets for 10 years, ever since her husband was killed in a battle against Soviet troops. She has 7 children to provide for, and every month she falls short. The conflict now is the latest bout in a 30-year cycle of violence, and after each one, women like Fatima find themselves abandoned by